Tayo, no. Kamusta kayo dyan, guys? Ito na. Alam mo niyo naman kanina, nasa webinar po tayo with President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine. Medyo seryoso yung webinar namin. Thanks to my friend Ambassador Dina Jalal from Jakarta. Of course, Indonesia po yung mag-host sila yung chair ng G20 ngayon at may seryosong discussion about the possibility of President Zelensky meeting President Vladimir Putin of Russia in Jakarta on the sidelines of G20. We're not sure kung mangyari or hindi, but yun yung konteksto ng webinar namin with President Volodymyr Zelensky kanina. So yun, okay. So nakita naman yung mga pinost natin. At wag nyo naman laitin na may plastic pa rin yung natin, yung lampshade natin. Ayan naman tayo, mga Ilocano style, hindi nagtatanggal ng plastic. Kailangan lang natin for proper lighting, so kinuha ko tong lampshade na medyo magandang presyo, nakahanap tayo, so nilagay natin dyan. So, kamusta kayo dyan, guys? So today, wala pa tayong updates on the DND and the DFA position, but I have my own updates and we'll discuss that shortly. And then I want to talk about also what I call Marconomics, right? Marcos Economics. At gaano ko mahalaga ito yung economic team niya, no? Itong sinasabi natin na technocratic alchemy. So ito, classroom, Marconomics. Alright, so Marcos Economics. We see a lot of similarities in the sense that yung tatay niya, si Marcos Sr., yung kanyang ama, also relied on a lot of people from UP School of Economics. From UP, including people from UP School of Economics like Jerry Sikat, among others. So a lot of them Ivy League graduates, American trained. So we see a very similar trend here. Also, my element of team of rivals, ni-raise na ni Amy Marcos yan. Of course, this goes back to an American historian's description of yung kabinete ni Lincoln. Medyo feeling talaga, Lincoln talaga. Si Abraham Lincoln, yung kabinete niya, kung nanood kayo ng movie ni Lincoln, di ba? Nakita niya, nag-aaway-aaway yung kabinete niya kasi puro mga galing, pero galing sa iba't ibang kampo. But what Lincoln was able to do is to create a unified, inclusive, and very best and brightest cabinet. So one American historian called it a team of rivals. So si Amy was saying maybe that's what we need. Now, I'm not going to comment on the entire cabinet. Of course, there's some positions more encouraging than the others. But dito sa economic team, we see a lot of similarity in terms of reliance on UP graduates or UP professors and Western-trained economists, very established people, to run the economic agenda of what I call Marconomics. All right? So, Marcos Economics. But today also, of course, I want to talk about foreign policy and defense policy, although wala pa tayong update dun sa DND at saka Department of Foreign Affairs. But mukhang, I could be wrong on this, mukhang Ambassador Romualdez is no longer in the contention. Well, I said I support him as the next foreign secretary, but mukhang now it could go down between a career foreign career diplomat, and potentially my former professor, Ma'am Clarita Carlos. So, interesting. Looking forward to that. Wala pa naman finalized update on dyan, but it's so, kasi ang problema is, Ambassador Romualdez is so competent in handling our relations with the US na parang, dyan ka na lang, sayang, dun ka na lang, just be effective. So baka ganun na lang naging thinking. Pero balikan natin itong Marconomics. Okay, and let's talk about some numbers. So kahapon, I discussed about, di ba guys, expansionary fiscal policy. Diniscuss po natin, at of course, my second love is economics. My first love is international affairs, my second love is economics. Kabataan pa lang, habang Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Dragon Ball Z yung iba, ito yung mga inaabangan ko nung kabataan pa lang, thanks to my dad, who made me listen to BBC News and all of that. Mga 6-7-year-old pa lang, para gumanda yung English natin. But in the process, I absorbed a lot of knowledge about the world. So, bata pa lang ako, ito na talagang ginagawa natin, di ba? Mamaya na tayo nag-PlayStation and all. So, going back again to Marconomics, let me talk about a number of important things here. So, kahapon pinag-usapan natin na people like Benjamin Jokno, among others, are known to be what you call heterodox economists. They're much more, let's say, outside the box in terms of their thinking. Hindi sila na-confine dun sa straitjacket of neoliberalism, which emphasizes low inflation, relatively high interest rate to keep the inflation low, and of course to also benefit people who save, who put a lot of money there in the banks, and less emphasis, let's say, on employment and sometimes even growth. No, so this is really the new liberal economic agenda that has dominated the world since the 1970s. Now, we can have a whole lecture about neoliberalism later on, which was a response to Keynesianism. But heterodox economists are known as new Keynesians, no, or post-Keynesian economists. So they also believe in aggressive spending, a little bit more budget deficit, a little bit lower interest rate to push for growth, among others. So I think Benjamin Jokno kind of falls into that. But I'm gonna quote Benjamin Jokno kanina, later on. Kasi kanina nagsulat ako about this Marconomics. So let me go through it. So there are a number of... madumi to. Let me get this other one. So there are a number of data, guys, that we have to look at before we go into this. So meron tayong concern, guys. So ganito kasi. So nung campaign period, obviously si incoming President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. was quite vague on the issue of unity at saka also in terms of his economic policy. Tapos meron pa yung 20 peso bigas. I don't know, tawag ko dyan mga Nutribun populism. Ewan ko sa mga yan. But these are the realities that we're gonna face, okay? So, una-una, wag natin kalimutan na pagdating sa ating ekonomiya, we had 5 quarters of economic contraction. So, ito yung in the initial phase, so first year on more of the pandemic, no? At kung maalala ni 2020, first quarter pa lang meron na tayong contraction dahil nga partly because of yung nangyaring eruption dyan sa may malapit sa Tagaytay, diba? So 5 quarters tayo na economic contraction, so that didn't help. So now of course our growth rate is decent, but remember we have not fully recovered from yung numbers natin before. Ayan na yung mga cousins natin dyan. Kamusta dyan, Marco from Ibiza? ¿Cómo estás? Buenos días. Okay, so let me give you some numbers, guys, no? So, the country's outstanding debt, ito po yung utang natin, no? Lumaki po siya by 20% nung 2021 compared to 2020 level. So, umabot na po siya ng 12 trillion pesos almost. 12 trillion pesos. Ito po yung utang natin, nako po. So, medyo malaki-laki ito. At yung country's debt to GDP ratio, so debt to gross domestic product ratio, we used to be around 35-40% not long ago. Now po, umabot na po siya ng 60.5%. Ito po yung highest rate of debt to GDP ratio in the last 16 years. So, ito po yung magiging problema ni Bongbong Marcos. Nung pumasok po si Digong, ni Tatay Digong, noong 2016, he was benefiting from a lot of fiscal space. It's like, so a lot of room for spending dahil nga sa ginawang reforma ni President Arroyo, Tita Arroyo, and God bless his soul, President Aquino. We had high growth rates, our our budget quadrupled almost in less than a decade. So, pagdating ni Paolo Duterte, ang daming pera. So, ang dami niyang pwedeng gawin. So, yung mga supporters natin, ang galing ni tatay, daming project ganun. Well, dahil maraming pera na na-save ng mga dating administration. So, magpasalamat kayo, di ba, sa mga dating administration. And in fact, DOF Secretary Dominguez said we can have a golden age of infrastructure development dahil sa mga magandang ginawa ng dating administrasyon. So, si Dominguez mismo, ang DOF Secretary at kaibigan ni Pangulong Digong, is acknowledging yung sakripisyo ng mga dating administrasyon. High growth rates, balanced budget, etc. But of course, yung kakulangan din ng mga dating administration is in terms of infrastructure spending. Now, medyo inayos yan. Our infrastructure spending as a share of our GDP increased to more than 5%, almost doubled. By the way, this is the time na DBM Secretary, Budget and Management Secretary, si Benjamin Jokno, our incoming Department of Finance Secretary. But ito dahil sa pandemya at pag-decrease ng growth natin, so decreasing growth natin, nag-contract na yung economy natin for 5 quarters. Gastos pa rin tayo, hindi po lumalaki yung buwis natin, yung tax base natin. Ito, yung term, classroom tax base. Ito yung pwede mo i-collect ang tax, no? Yung tax collection rate natin na hindi ganun ka-effective, I think our tax efforts, so sorry, I'm throwing out all of these terms, economics terms, but you have to learn it, guys. So tax effort, ito yung share of your overall income in terms of tax collection, of your GDP. So yung tax collection effort natin is, I don't know, 15 to 16%, which is Ramos level, much better than ERAP level, but it's nowhere close to France, which is like 30-35%. So we're collecting 50% in terms of yung potential for tax collection kumpara dun sa mga mas malalaking at mas magagandang estado, mas malalakas at mga mas epektibong estado katulad ng Pransya, for instance. No? So, we're still well below our capacity. So, ito, pababa yung economy, 5 quarters of contraction, syempre pandemya, mataas pa rin yung gastos, kailangan ng stimulus program, etc. So, utang tayo ng utang, right and left, gastos pa tayo dito sa, of course, yung mga response natin sa pandemya, testing, all of that. Tapos meron ka pang formali, kung ano ang skandalo, etc. So, ito po nangyari. Ang laki na ng utang natin ngayon. So, umabot na siya ng 12 trillion, right? So, ito, by the way, I'll post everything here. So, all of this is based on data. So, ito po yung draft ng article ko kanina. So, I have all the numbers here. So, umakyat po siya ng 20% year-on-year last year to 12 trillion. Tapos, yung debt-to-GDP ratio natin ay lumaki ngayon to 60.5%. Now, hindi ito kasing laki ng mga bansang katulad ng Greece or Spain, yung mga sovereign debt crisis na tinatawag noong mga late 2000s. Sila umabot ng more than 100% yung debt-to-GDP ratio. But this is still the highest we have had in 16 years. So, ERAP level na umabot na ito eh. So, parang Tatay Digong ERAP, medyo ano. And both of them, interestingly, had Benjamin Jokno also as their DBM secretary. Isa pang problema po natin dito is yung inflation rate po natin. Ang inflation rate po natin is umabot almost to 4%, so 3.8% nung April 2022 ayon sa Philippine Statistics Authority, no? Philippine Statistics Authority. Now, it's not the highest in the world. Of course, thank God we're not in the situation of some other countries like 30%, 25%. US umabot ng 6 to 7%, whatever. But still, it's within the upper limit kasi medyo 3 to 5%. I mean, we hope to keep it at 3% or 2.5%. At kung ikaw ay mahirap na Pilipino, malaking bagay even with 3.8%. And by the way, this is average inflation of a basic basket of goods. Maari na yung mga ibang produkto dyan umakyat by 10%, 15%, 20%. Yung gasolina, di ba? Ang mahal ng gasolina nung isang buwan. At of course, hindi naman kasalanan ni Tatay Digong din yan. Kasalanan din niya na maraming factors including yung pagtaas ng presyo ng langis, yung gyera sa Ukraine and Russia affecting provision of food, fertilizer, among others. So, ang tawag dyan, external shocks, no? So, inflation situation is also not very good. Now, nonetheless, si Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ay nangako po siya na mataas ang magiging growth natin, ibaba yung presyo ng mga basic na bilihin, bigas, etc. And then, ito yung sinabi ni Bongbong Marcos. Sinabi niya na we're planning and thinking of how we can boost the Philippines economy, so growth is very important. At ang gusto niya gawin is itutuloy niya yung President Duterte's Build project. And ito pa yung sinabi ni Bongbong Marcos during kampanya. Ito yung sinabi niya nung panahon ng kampanya. We will expand and improve even yung BBB, Build project ni Pangulong Duterte. No? 1 second lang. May typographical yata. 3.8 pero dito sa draft ko it's 0.8 lang. Wait lang. I have to text this to my editor na hindi makamali. Inflation is 3.8. Sorry guys. Ay, nasabay-sabay yung matra. Okay. So, what am I doing here, guys? I'm painting you the reality of the economic situation na maharap ng parating nating presidente at administrasyon. Kaya nga napakamahalaga na mahusay po yung kanyang team. Dahil mataas yung expectation kay Pangulong Marcos Jr. Mataas po yung kanyang mga, medyo tinaas din niya yung expectation kasi yung mga pangako niya, mataas na growth din ang gusto niya. Gusto rin niya ituloy itong mga build project. Now, let's go to some numbers, guys. I will post this to you again. So, ito po yung estado ng ating build infrastructure projects. No? So, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. will inherit 88 big-ticket infrastructure projects at 35 dyan ay matatapos by 2023. So, next year, ayan na. Credit grabbing! Ayan, hindi naman siguro. Medyo nauhaw ako dito sa mga, dami mga numbers sa utak ko ngayon. So, hindi kasi siya sponsored, so hindi ko ipakita yung... Ayan tayo. So, out of 88 big ticket projects, 35 lang matatapos, tapos next year pa. So, marami hindi rin natapos sa panahon ni Duterte, pero yung mga sinimula ng panahon ni Aquino, tinatapos naman ni Duterte. So, grabbing credit from each other. So, at least next year, si Pangulong Marcos will be in a position to at least say, may mga natatapos tayo and claim credit for that. Now, up to 20 projects nga ay still under review. So, hindi pa sila talagang go eh. Parang nasa preliminary phase pa lang. So, it's very easy, for them to talk about, may seed ba sa loob? To talk about big ticket projects. Pero marami dyan under review. Tapos yung 35 hindi pa matapos hanggang next year. Tapos 20 projects nga under review. Now, base sa mga datos na meron tayo, vast majority ng itong mga BBB projects, 60 out of 88, no? So, this is a huge number, around 70%, consist of hard infrastructure projects like railway, roads, bridges, seaports, dams. So, medyo komplikado itong mga to eh. Kaya mahalaga din yung sinong piniling DPWH Secretary ni Bongbong Marcos. At of course, alam natin yung pinili niya ay isang tao na I think sa mga tollway business eh. So, medyo siguro alam niya yung business ng infrastructure build-up and all. Wala na si mag-senator na si Mark Villar. Mag-ina na sila dyan sa Senado. So ito so maraming matatapos hopefully, God willing, next year, 35, pero 20 pa rin under review. At 60 out of 88, so I'm giving you the clear numbers, ay mga hard infrastructure. So medyo komplikado yan, kailangan talaga maayos. So mahalaga din dito guys, hindi yung Econ team lang, pero pati yung DPWH Secretary. Alright, so I'm still doing some more reviews on this. But let's hope that things will move forward in the right direction dito. Kasi guys, kailangan talaga natin ng infrastruktura. Yun talagang kahinaan ng ating bansa eh. Pag pumunta po kayo sa Thailand, hindi naman first world country, pero kung pumunta kayo sa mga probinsya nila, puro asfalto, napakaganda yung mga roads, napakaganda yung infrastruktura para sa kanilang agrikultura. Of course, ibang usapan na yung Malaysia, mga ganun na mas mayaman na bansa sa atin. So sana naman medyo humabol tayo. At kagandahan po naman dito sa infrastructure development po is maraming trabaho ay pwedeng, di ba, magkakaroon dyan dahil, syempre, when you're building bridges na, kailangan mo ng workers, di ba? At hindi naman kailangan na may PhD ka or Englishero ka. People with relatively lower skills can work in these projects and have sustainable jobs for quite some time. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, etc. At sana walang corruption or anything masyado. Para naman, di ba? Para naman mag-benefit yung tao para hindi mapasa sa atin yung tax at saka expenditures. Now, ito kasi ang issue ngayon, guys. So, ito, econ talaga tayo today, econ class tayo. So, seryoso na tayo. We're talking about numbers here. So, wala nang mga bola-bola, kantsawan dito. So, the reality is, medyo maging kulang yung pera natin at medyo malaki na yung utang natin. So, yung isang solution na pinopropose ng paalis na administration, so I'm talking about Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III, is yung tinatawag na fiscal consolidation. In short, either medyo belt-tightening or medyo mag-scrape ka ng mga additional tax. Diba? So, ang proposal ni Secretary Dominguez is, pursuing the fiscal consolidation and resource mobilization program as proposed will help us to continue to spend on socio-economic programs, maintain our credit ratings, and grow out of our debt. Because guys, yung isa pang problema dito is kung tuloy-tuloy itong utang-utang, gastos-gastos, bababa po yung ating credit rating. At kung bumaba po yung credit rating, mas mataas ang interest rate pag nangutang ka. Kasi kung pogi ka, mabango ang pangalan mo, pwede ka mag-utang ng loan, napakababa yung interest. So, pwede ka mag-invest, gumawa ka ng trabaho, growth, and then bayaran mo later. Pero kung hindi na mabango yung pangalan mo, malabo yung economy mo, gastos ka ng gastos, utang ng utang, pero hindi ka nagre-raise ng new revenues or creating new growth, baksak yung sistema mo. And the last time we had a major financial debt crisis was in early 1980s under Marcos Sr., right? So, that's why a lot of economists were worried that another Marcos would be president. Again, this is based on facts, okay? This is based on facts. Hindi ito YouTube University, okay? We're talking about facts here. So, ito yung debt crisis na meron tayo sa Philippines noong early 1980s. Hindi panahon ni Corazon to, Aquino to. Panahon ito, alright? Panahon ito ni Marcos. Now, if you don't believe me, basahin nyo si Gerard Sikat na nagtrabaho sa administrasyon ni Marcos, no? Ito yung the Philippines in 1983 economic crisis, no? So, ito now, of course, I'm sure Gerardo Sikat will try to put some interesting angle to this. But we had a foreign debt crisis. So, ito yun. So, Philippine faces foreign debt crisis, 1983. Okay, I'll post it there. So, yun ang hindi pwede. Nagastos ka ng gastos. Ang laki ng utang natin ngayon. Paalis na si Tatay Digong, 20% increase dun sa isang debt natin. Last year pa lang. Kailangan na ayusin to. Hindi pwede. Kasi ngayon problema, guys, parang ito yung tito mo na pagdating sa bahay, gastos ng gastos, party mode, masaya kaya. Ganda ang astig ni tito, The best tong si tito, yung pala. Lahat ng mga pinagastos niya, yung mga pinashot niya, mga utang pa lang yan dun sa sari-sari store. Pero sa ilalim ng pangalan ng nanay at tatay nyo. So ikaw, kung hindi ka nagbabasa or hindi ka nagpo-follow up, tuwan-tuwa ka sa tito mo. Tapos galit ka sa nanay at tatay mo. Bakit tatay, ba't tayo, hindi tayo masaya? Parating belt tightening. Kasi nga, yung problema, madali gumastos kung utang yan. Ang kawawa, yung kailangan magbayad. And in this case, tayo yan, di ba? Or yung mga susunod na administration na mas responsable. So, pwede ka go ahead, build all the infrastructure. Pero kung utang lang naman lahat yan, and then hindi naman maganda yung infrastructure, hindi naman na kompleto, puro naman corruption, kawawa yung mga susunod na henerasyon. At yun po yung nangyari sa atin last time Marcos was in charge, di ba? We inherited more than 25 billion pesos. At yung sinasabi ng iba, hanggang ngayon, binabayaran pa natin kasi nag-utang tayo para bayaran yan. Now, I'm not here to talk about 1980s per se. What I'm telling you here is that huwag kayong ma-impress agad dyan sa mga nagsabi marami kami na bill, kung utang lang naman galing yan at hindi naman effective yung ginawa nilang projects or hindi na-create ng growth. Now, I am for borrowing if it's properly invested and it creates growth so that hindi mo lang mabayaran yung utang mo, na-create ka pa ng additional jobs and income. But is that the case what happened in the past? No, it didn't. Okay? Now, let's see what's gonna happen now. Kaya nga mahalaga yung economic team ni Marcos. Kasi, guys, ito na, katotohanan na ito. Hindi na ito plataforma, Nutriban, 20 pesos bigas. Ito na, Talano. Hindi na ito yung gold bar. Hindi. This is serious stuff, okay? We are in a serious territory. At andito tayo para analyze ano yung magiging options ni Bongbong Marcos bilang presidente, okay? So, ang proposal ni Dominguez is, of course, get more out of the people, right? So, kailangan talaga daw dito is mag-introduce ng new tax measures, including suspending some of the tax deduction regimes na meron tayo. Right? At sinabi ni Dominguez, kailangan talaga yan. Alam ko, mahirap yan. Marami sa atin, hindi pa kompleto yung, hindi pa employed, underemployed. Ako nga, ang dami kong projects dati, wala na dahil sa pandemic, etc. Di ba? So, pero yung iba sa atin, wala nang tax breaks katulad ng dati or kailangan natin magbayad pa ng more tax. But Dominguez is saying we need to to quote him, taking action now is our responsibility to future generations. Kasi kung utang lang tayo ng utang at hindi natin ayusin itong problema, this will be passed down to the next president and the next president. And magsusnowball effect yung utang natin. Utang, interest rate, utang, interest rate, utang, interest rate. The next thing you know, good luck na sa Pilipinas. Alright? Which is exactly what happened the last time. You know what I'm saying? Alright. Okay. So now, that is why kailangan mo ng isang mahusay na team, technocratic team, that can balance this Diba? That can balance this. Kung saan, pwede tuloy pa rin yung BBB project, yung Build projects. Pwede pa rin ituloy yung emphasis sa job creation kasi syempre infrastructure projects, more growth, more jobs. But, dapat bawasan talaga yung corruption, bawasan talaga yung mga questionable proyekto, bawasan talaga yung mga palpak na proyekto, at bawasan yung utang na hindi effectively na-reinvest doon sa ating ekonomiya. So we have to have not belt-tightening per se, but calibrated borrowing and optimized investment. Alright? So ito So we need optimized investment and we need to calibrate our borrowing. Because if tuloy-tuloy yung borrowing na ito, bababa na rin yung ating credit rating na medyo maganda ngayon, in fairness, na maintain naman ni Duterte yung good credit rating from Aquino years. But, kung tumaas yung interest rate natin dahil bumaba yung credit rate, ayan, good luck na lang sa masusunod na henerasyon, 'di ba? Yung mga anak natin, tayo, pag tumanda na tayo lalo, 'di ba? Pag zaddy is more zaddy, 'di ba? Kaya nga dapat talaga mahusay yung team ni Marcos pagdating sa economic managers natin, no? So far ang meron tayo dito is parang an all UP team, 'di ba? So halos lahat except, depends on how you, you could say almost all of them are from UP School of Economics or they have been professors there, right? So, andyan yung current Central Bank BSP Governor Benjamin Jokno, who will take over as Department of Finance. Another UP School of Economics colleague, Felipe Medalla, who was former NEDA, will take over his job at Bangko Sentral. And then another UP School of Economics professor, Arsenio Balisacan, former NEDA, will also take over, in this case, also NEDA. At the same time, sa DTI naman, former UP President, I think BAA siya, management siya, hindi siya School of Economics, yung school din ni Villar, siya yung magte-take charge naman of Department of Trade and Industry. So you'll have these 4 people really taking charge. Very interesting. And of course, if you look at their portfolio, it's very interesting. Now, if you look at, for instance, Arsenio Balisacan, let's go through them just quickly. Of course, I'm not gonna pretend that talagang kilala ko sila lahat 100%, but ayan, medyo napaisip na tayo. Okay. Kung alam nyo, kilala niyo si Sir Balisacan, si Prof. Balisacan, talagang mahusay yan sa development and agricultural economics, no? Yun talagang expertise niya. So, kung punta kayo sa Google Scholar, yung mga ganon, tignan niyo yung publication record niya. He's someone who knows about agricultural development and overall developmental economics, no? So, in that sense, I think he's the perfect guy. And the fact na dati nagtrabaho din siya sa Aquino administration, I think it sends the right signal. No, na the Marcos administration is open to get the best of talents, the best and brightest, whoever you work for in the past, including whether from rival families or opposition, current opposition, whatever. You get what I'm saying? So, in fairness, I agree with Marcos, President Marcos, that having someone like Balisacan is important dahil si Secretary Balisacan will also oversee coordination of economic planning sa pagitan ng Imperial Manila at saka yung mga LGUs. At also looking at yung mga sektor na pinabayaan talaga. Yung agricultural sector. Napakatanda na yung mga ating magsasaka dahil walang suporta sa mga anak nila. Ayaw na nila maging magsasaka. Gusto nila ibang trabaho na or mag-abroad na lang. So we have to provide the agricultural sector all kinds of support systems, subsidies, better irrigation, etc., to make sure, while respecting our free trade agreements and WTO rules and all of that, to make sure na meron tayong food security. At historically, guys, kung tinignan yung mga ibang bansa, yung mga Taiwan, Korea, mga others, ang first na inayos nila yung agricultural sector, then the manufacturing sector, then nung yumaman sila, they went into high-end services, right? Ang problema sa Pilipinas is, mahina yung agricultural sector mo, mahina yung manufacturing mo, tas over-focus ka sa low-end services. That's why you're not creating jobs. That's why hindi tayo umangat. We're getting it wrong. So instead of getting this right before you go here, we went here, we got stuck here, hindi natin inayos yung manufacturing agriculture. So you have to fix these two, and then you move it upwards. Again, as I said, the best book I think on this that will explain yung success ng mga ibang bansa is itong books by Joe Studwell, who has a PhD in economics from Cambridge, but he's a journalist too, so he really knows what he's talking about. Napakamahusay na book ito. Makikita nyo bakit nag-succeed yung ibang bansa pero hindi Pilipinas. Alright? In fairness naman to President Marcos, the old President Marcos, at least he built irrigation. Yung irrigation infrastructure natin, I love that. Thanks to Marcos era. But of course, he was there for 20 years. Sana naman may nagawa sa buhay, di ba? So I hope President Marcos Jr. will try to build on some of the good things in the past and also to make sure na yung mga pinabayaan ng mga sectors, meron tayong gagawin dyan. Okay. So, that's Arsenio Balisacan. I think he's a great guy to put there. Of course, he also worked in Competition Commission currently under the current President Duterte. So he's supposedly a monopoly buster. So let's see how that will help him also in terms of overall economic planning for our country. Remember guys, mahalaga din ang NEDA because NEDA will also oversee the approval of big projects, development projects, and infrastructure projects, including projects from China. So one of the reasons maraming Chinese projects ay hindi na ituloy dito sa Pilipinas is because the former NEDA chiefs, this is before Carl Chua pa, we're not approving a lot of these projects kasi mumbo-jumbo. So mahalaga din maging trabaho ni RC Balisacan, Sir RC, because he will also be in charge of approving some of the better projects there. Okay. Now next, let's go to Jokno, right? So in fairness kay Jokno, as I said, he was aggressive in terms of infrastructure spending as DBM. Nakasabay pa kami. Again, disclosure, I was one of the speakers at the Build Dutertenomics Forum in 2017. So sila nag-speech, tapos kami nag-speech, kami ni Cecilio Chelito Habito, no? So I was one of the outside experts who gave speech also on infrastructure development. You can check it online, no? So disclosure lang, okay? So everything I'm saying here is not out of nowhere because I've been interacting, including with this administration, on the question of infrastructure development, etc. Okay, you can check it online. Just put, hey, Darian Dutertenomics, makikita niyo yung speech namin din. Okay. All right. That doesn't mean I'm this. Okay, just look at what now. So he was very aggressive on infrastructure development, and then nung nag-BSP naman siya, as the BSP, in fairness naman to him, he pushed for financial sector regulation to make sure walang mambo-jumbo nangyari, lalong-lalo na panahon na pandemic, maraming mga budol-budol gang nangyari pati sa mga banking and financial sectors, di ba? Mahirap na yan. So, central bank trabaho nila talaga to make sure some of the good financial regulations is there. And second, interest rate adjustments kasi that will help you to protect your currency and make sure the inflation doesn't get out of control. So, in fairness, despite all the difficulties and the limited mandate of Bangko Sentral, I think Jokno did a pretty okay job. I think he even won an award, no, one of the best central banker, but he's not the first. Amado Tetanco in the past, during Aquino, he won, I don't know, I lost count of how many Bangko Central Banker of the Year award he won. But in fairness kay Jokno, he didn't disappoint. All right. Now, Jokno coming in, baka pinanood niya yung ating meta, no? Ito yung sinabi niya, as Finance Secretary, I will strive to continue prudently and carefully balancing the need to support economic growth. Ito yung sinasabi niya, emphasis on infrastructure investment, on growth, employment generation, but at the same time, maintain fiscal discipline. So, ang sinasabi ni Ben Jokno dito is that if akala mo, tuloy-tuloy lang spending namin and borrowing, don't worry, gets ko, meron tayong problema, so I'll try to balance it out. In a recent interview, sinabi din ni Ben Jokno that he's gonna keep the top people, including Assistant Secretary, Undersecretaries, Chief Economist, DOF, etc., once he takes over. So, there'll be policy continuity. So, he's not gonna bring a whole team and then back to zero, di ba? So, there'll be continuity. Now, Felipe Medalla, who will take over, dating NEDA chief din yata siya, he will take over, also UP School of Economics prof, he will take over yung trabaho ni Benjamin Jokno sa BSP, and I have complete confidence in him doing the right thing there and keeping things on an even keel. And then si Alfredo Pascual, dating presidente ng UP naman, ay mag-take charge naman ng ating DTI sector. So siya yung dating presidente ng Management Association of the Philippines. For almost 20 years, he worked at the Asian Development Bank. Marami din siyang background in the investment banking sector, no? So nag-executive position siya sa RCBC, sa First Metro Investment Corporations and Bancom Development Corporation. So in fairness sa kanya. So anyway, in many ways you can say this is quite closer to the supposed best and brightest A-list cabinet that we need, at least in terms of economic manager. So in fairness naman to incoming President Marcos, he realizes that he really needs adults in the room. At hindi pwede mga amateur hour or joke time or yung kaibigan mo lang na businessman na ilalagay mo dyan if ever walang naman siyang relevant background. So very experienced people, top-level academic, UP professors, top-level former cabinet ministers, or even current top positions like Bangko Sentral chief in the case of Benjamin Jokno. So good one. I like this. So I think Marconomics might have some future if these people do what they need to do and what they have to do to make sure we have growth but don't overspend, don't overborrow, and don't repeat the mess we had in the past. And ayusin also yung mga excesses of President Duterte. Now, on the issue of tax increase, I think that will be a potentially difficult one for Marcos because I don't think Marcos wants to be a president who will start on tax increases. So let's see what he will do on that front. Kaya tignan natin ano yung mga next moves ni Benjamin Jokno. So of course, what you should do here is increase the tax on those who can pay it, but not on those who cannot pay it. And then use the additional revenues to invest in infrastructure and all in ways that you can create jobs and growth for those who are more vulnerable and more adversely affected by the pandemic. Alam natin, yung mga pinakamayaman sa ating bansa, I think they had a 30% increase in terms of their wealth even during pandemic, habang marami sa ating mga Pilipino ay naghirap panahon ng pandemic. So, there has to be a balanced way kung saan the pressure should not be on ordinary Filipinos but more on those who actually became even richer during the pandemic period. I think that way, then Marcos can increase the taxes without hurting his political base. Now, nonetheless, let me go back to this point. Naging mahaba na yung lecture natin. Econ na naman tayo. So, next time na lang siguro ulit yung West Philippine Sea and all. Hopefully by Monday or bukas, meron na tayong update, guys, sa DFA and DND. Siguro bukas na lang, God willing, if may time tayo. Yun ang pag-usapan natin. Kasi there's some encouraging developments also on the foreign policy front. And even Albert de Rosario, dating Foreign Secretary ni Aquino, welcomed some of the good remarks by incoming President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. So, interesting, very interesting. Now, let me emphasize this point. For Marcos says, this is not just about getting the economic question right. This is not just about, we're just another administration, we're going to come and go. No. Sabi nga ni Amy Marcos, they do not want to waste yung second chance kasi they're very grateful. So, ito, tinranslate ko into English yung sinabi niya. Kasi mix siya eh. So, ito yung sinabi niya. Yes, we're very, very grateful for second chance, as it were, since our family has been through a lot in recent decades, referring to all of the cases on ill-gotten wealth and abuses, etc., wealth and abuses and all of that. So, our family has suffered a lot in the past almost 4 decades. So, ngayon, parang point na is, we don't want to become controversial again and create another people power, another polarizing politics and all. And so we have to get it right and matatag na leadership, I think something like that, no? Na pamumuno, matatag na pamumuno. Yun po yung kailangan natin. So we need a strong leadership. And part of that strong leadership will be a good cabinet that will handle technocratic issues, which obviously are not expertise of Bongbong Marcos. Ayoko na balikan yung solvent, mga ganon. But obviously, you need real experts to handle this economic issue. I wanted to talk about more about yung foreign policy, etc. Pero siguro bukas na lang, guys. Abangan nyo na lang. Para naman balikan nyo naman ako. Hindi ko na ibigay lahat sa inyo kaagad, alright? But I hope you get what I'm saying, right? So, tax effort, we have to increase that. Yung ability to collect taxes, we have to optimize our investment and calibrate our borrowing. So I think that if we do that way, then Marconomics might just work. And this kind of team of rival that we created overall, because meron kang people from Aquino admin, from Estrada admin, from Duterte admin, some of them, all of these admins, all of them putting them together, who knows, it might just work. But Marcos Jr. has to provide the kind of encouraging, big picture leadership. And at the same time, dapat bibigyan niya ng sapat na autonomy dito sa mga iba't ibang kabinete to do the right thing for the country, not for the president, not for the administration, not for popularity, not for Nutribon, not for 20 peso bigas, but for something that will really help the whole country and lift all of us and help us to get out of this pandemic, and also to make sure i-build natin infrastructure natin, all of that, and avoid all the financial crisis and disaster during the Marcos dictatorship era, right? Okay. Lahat yan, ipopost ko dyan, so don't worry about it. Okay? Ano yan, Annabelle? Ito-troll mo na naman ako. Anong ininom ko? Sorry, calamansi juice. Calamansi juice. Pag economics numbers, dapat calamansi juice. Kailangan mo ng vitamin C and all of that. Hindi pwede na lang. Kape lang. Baka kape, masyado ako maging hyper kung ano nang sasabihin mo, di ba? Sorry, I had to message pala my editor, yung 3.8 nilagay ko, 0.8. I didn't put the 3 eh. I was rushing it eh. Ayan, okay, nakuha na ng editor ko. Yeah, so, Marconomics, team of rivals. Don't worry guys, pag publish, God willing, itong article, ipopost ko dyan sa page ko ha. Basahin nyo guys, para ma-appreciate nyo naman where I'm coming from. So, okay, so ito, guys, ganito tayo, diba? Ganito lang tayo. Alright? We're here to have proper discussion, almost like classroom discussion na ito, di ba? You can see, yun ang gusto, see, walang paninira, walang bastusan, walang kantsawan, walang ganun. We're just having proper discussion, understanding the policy space, especially in terms of macroeconomics for the incoming administration. So for a moment, i-park natin, parang bus. Lahat ng mga politika, paninira, awayan, asaran, let's just focus on the economic issues here, no? So yun po yung ginagawa natin dito. So, maraming salamat. Yeah. Kasi kanina pa ako going through all of these numbers kasi talagang juiced out ako eh. Ang dami kong numbers na sinicheck eh. Ilang persons dito, ilang persons dyan, ganun. So I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. So medyo kalamansi juice talaga kailangan natin dyan. O yung mga kaibigan naman natin dyan, baka naman. Wala yata sa Starbucks ganun. Kalamansi juice, yan. Meron sila Starbucks yung medyo social na masyadong mayaman. Kaya pag ininom ko, parang sayang, konti-konti na. Hindi, joke lang. Yan, joke lang. Baka ano. Hindi. Ay, hindi, meron silang coconut water doon sa Starbucks. Masarap siya, in fairness. Yun ang option B ko, coconut. Na-coconut na kayo? Nosebleed na tayo? Hindi naman tayo na nosebleed kasi kanina ko pa, ang dami kong chinecheck na numbers kanina. How do I put this all together? In a way that's understandable by, lay audience, di ba? Hindi naman tayo sa econ class. This is a policy class. This is a policy sciences class. So I'm explaining to you in layman language, this economic importance of having a good econ team, di ba? Kasi nga hindi pwede gastos ka lang ng gastos at ng credit graph at Nutribon ng Nutribon, gano'n. Babaksak yung economy natin. We cannot do that, okay? Dapat responsable talaga tayo, guys. Talagang dapat responsable tayo, okay? Now, kahapon, some people took exception to us posting about yung solvent, mga gano'n. I mean, come on, guys. Come on. As I said, putting humor aside, yes, everyone has frailties and all of that. But some people are saying, sana naman kung presidente, please, you show familiarity with ICC versus ICJ, what Solgen, etc. But I'm not even gonna go into that. Lahat naman tayo imperfecto. We make mistakes and all of that. But let's not also forget what they did to our outgoing duly elected Vice President, Leni Robredo. Lahat yung mga splice videos, etc., trying to question their competence or intelligence, whatever. Even though ito yung tao actually nag-graduate ng 2 degrees, di ba? So, yun lang, di ba? Sport lang dapat, di ba? Sport lang dapat. Pero ako, di ba? You saw it. Even though medyo may asaran ng konti, we went straight to business. Ito yung notes natin from kahapon. Hindi naman puro mga solgen. Nandito. You can see this is a very serious discussion we had yesterday. The technocratic alchemy of the appointments of President Marcos, yung unorthodox, heterodox, new Keynesian, post-Keynesian, new liberalism, lahat ng diniscuss natin, expansionary fiscal policy. So guys, come on guys. I mean, medyo kansyaman tayo here and there, but hindi tayo bastusan. Hindi tayo mga junk food blogger style. Hindi tayo ganyan, guys. Yan, Elon Musk. Boom, boom. Yeah, Elon Musk. Yan. Aran, may tanong ba tayo dyan? Mamaya na tayo kay, Today, gusto ko mag-focus dun sa mga medyo high-level na cabinet appointments, okay? Mamaya na tayo dun sa mga DepEd, and basta, ayoko na magsalita. Mamaya na yan. Bakit wala yung mga Duterte, by the way? Si Tatay Digong, yung mga iba dun sa proclamation ni Sara. Di ba parang wala sila? Bakit kaya? Yung Marcos family, kompleto eh. Andun silang lahat eh. Happy sila eh. Alright. Ayan, sabi ni Liza, I'm a fan, but please do not join the cabinet. Marami na akong kabinete dito eh. Hindi ko na kailangan sumali sa kabinete. May kabinete na ako dito. Kompletong kabinete ko dito. Lahat. Econ, portfolio, foreign policy. Meron pa akong, wala akong DepEd dito. Diba? Kompletong mga kabinete ko dito. Okay? So don't worry about me. Okay? Yeah, tsaka yun nga, if you work in the government, I'm not saying I'm being offered or anything. I'm just saying if you work in the government, it's very limiting, guys. And I'm sure, hindi na ako pwede magpa-Amanpour interview, Farid Zakaria, New York Times and all. Kasi you're working na for the government, you have to speak for the government. So, it's very limiting. That's why I'm sure there are a lot of very smart people there na parang ayaw nila mag-work sa government. But as I said, if you can help the country best way that way, then go. Kaya support naman ako kila Ma'am Oples, sila Prof. Balisacan, etc., who joined the Marcos administration because I'm sure they'll do their best for the country. Alright? And then let's see who will be the DFA secretary. Malay natin. Baka yung DFA secretary medyo malapit sa puso natin or something like that. Maybe we can help them in whatever capacity, etc. But I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to do here. Okay? I can speak for myself totally. And I'm happy to be able to just speak for myself. I'm accountable for myself. I speak for myself. At Jan, no one can tell me what to say. I'm my own guy, right? So this is what I enjoy, especially dito sa social media. We can, of course, sa TV, etc., hindi ako pwede magsalita ng ganong katagal. Diba? May limitasyon tayo in terms of format. But here, at least, we have a good way to discuss these things. Any questions, guys? So tanong ni Lenny Lin, dun sa issue ng productivity. No? Okay, medyo complicated ang issue yan because wala naman magic solution. But no, I think we really have to invest in agricultural sector productivity that will enhance both our food security and also can create the necessarily surplus income to also push for low-end manufacturing. But kailangan din natin ng seryosong trade and industrial policy. Kasi yun kulang sa mga dating administration. Wala silang trade policy para i-develop yung sarili nating industriya. Bakit import lang tayo ng import sa ibang bansa? Tingnan mo yung China, yung mga kotse ng China, yung mga cherry, dati pinagtatawanan lang namin. Tingnan mo yung mga kotse nilang ngayon, ang ganda. Ang ganda ng kotse ng mga China. Mas maganda na nga yung mga kotse nila, halos sa mga Korean cars eh. Halos next same level na eh. Not Japan yet, but almost there, di ba? Bakit? Because may industrial policy ng China. Sinusuportahan nila yung domestic manufacturers. China, pinagtatawanan lang natin 10 years ago, tingnan mo, ang gaganda ng mga kotse nila, yung mga SUVs nila and all. Right? Yung electronic cars nila, napakaganda. Baka better pa than Tesla, tas mura pa. Why can't we do that? Ano namang kulang sa atin, di ba? At yun na para di mo sinasabi, si Marcos at 20 years in power, but wala tayong anything like Hyundai, wala tayong anything like the chaebols of Korea. Meron siyang cronies. Alam niyo na sa inyo mga yan, di ba? Pero wala siyang ganun. So, sana naman we'll work on that, guys. We need to invest in those sectors. And sabi ko nga, sana yung susunod natin DFA secretary and secretaries, medyo may alam din sa economics para they can coordinate it with DTI. Kasi you need a diplomat who's also good in economics, also good in international affairs, also has some basics in international law, etc. Para naman maging more effective, di ba? So I'm also looking forward. So I'm still waiting for the appointments on DND and DFA. Alright. As I said, I'll support whoever's there as long as hindi kakaibang ewan ang gagawin, di ba? We'll help in whichever way we can. Okay? While in the interest of defending our national interest, obviously, right? Okay. O yan, yung Geely, di ba? Geely. Ang ganda ng mga cars lang China, di ba? 10 years ago, pag sinabi sa'yo China car, di ba, matatawa ka. Ngayon, ang gaganda ng mga kotse nila. Parang, yung Geely car, yung iba, parang ano di ba? Parang Range Rover, yung itsura, di ba? Parang kinopy yung Range Rover. Ang ganda. Ganda. In fairness to them. Cherry, Geely, ang ganda. Because they support their internal manufacturing sector. Yun ang wala sa atin, yung mga cronies natin, oligarchs natin, purong mga services lang at saka extractive industries. Walang nagmamanufacturing, kaya kailangan ng government i-push sila, mag-invest kayo sa manufacturing, ano ba yan? But wala tayong sariling kotse, yung Malaysia, di ba, may Proton? Nakapunta kayo sa Malaysia, di ba, KL, meron silang sariling kotse, yung Proton, ang ganda, di ba? O ba't tayo walang ganun? Hindi naman, actually, it's not even that hard to make cars and all. I mean, kailangan wala ng good policy. Sustain good policy. Thailand nga, halos lahat ng mga Toyota, Honda natin dito sa Southeast Asia, galing sa Thailand yan. Hindi naman sa Japan yan. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, kumpara lang natin sa China, Thailand, Malaysia, anong pinagagawa natin, di ba? Nakakaya yun, di ba? We have to do something about that. Right. Sarah All. Oh, tama ka, Steven. Oh, the same way na, tama yung Geely designer galing Volvo. In the same way na yung mga Korean cars, yung mga designer nila, mga Italian car designers. Kaya ang gaganda ng mga Hyundai na bago and etc. Di ba? Because they also got Italian designers. So, ganun you start, siyempre sa una, pagtatawanan ka. But over time, if sustain yung support, you build all your own brands. O yung tignan mo yung TikTok ngayon, kasing lakas na ng Twitter, di ba? Mas malakas pa yata sa Twitter ang TikTok ngayon. Dati pag sinabi China, parang, yun, app. Tapos ngayon, galing nila. So, and guess what? This is also what Korea did 34 years ago. This is what Japan did 60 years ago. And Malaysia, they're doing that in their own smaller ways, humbler ways. Thailand is the car manufacturing hub of Asia. They're building 1 million cars a year at least. Diba? Sayang guys, sayang. Kaya talaga pag tumunan ng pansin dapat itong economics din. Diba nakaka-proud kung meron tayong sariling brand na Filipino car? Siguro yung mga una, hindi ganun kaganda, pero over time maganda. In fact, tignan mo yung cars ng Vietnam. Di ba yung VIN car ba yun? VIN. Ang ganda kayo ng mga car ng Vietnam. Out of nowhere lang yan. Meron sila parang isang mayaman na parang Ayala type. Tapos sabi niya, gawa ako ng car ko. Tapos kumuha siya ng designer from Ford, etc. Next thing you know, meron na silang mga factories na gagawin sa US na electric car. Tignan yung car ng Vietnam. Napakaganda yung mga kotse. Ito. So, kaya naman nila. Kaya din natin. Why not? Policy lang naman yan eh. May picture nga ako. Nakipicture ako nung nasa Vietnam ako ng 2020. Ganda kaya ng mga kotse nila. Ito, ang gwapo. Tingnan mo, astig oh. Yung VinFast. Oh, parang dati nakakatuwa lang itsura. Ngayon, gaganda ng mga VinFast nila oh. Okay. VinFast. Meron na yata din sa Pilipinas, may nakita akong VinFast ah. Oh. Tapos meron din India, di ba? Ito, gwapo oh. Tignan nyo. Oh. Stig oh. Parang Tesla eh. Oh. Kailan lang ginawa yan? Oh, ngayon meron na silang $2 billion na gagawin na factory sa US pa. Gwapo, ganda oh. Stig oh, look at that man. That's Vietnam. Oh. Kaya natin yan, VinFast. We just need to push our oligarchs and industrialists to invest naman sa manufacturing sector. At kaganda ng manufacturing sector, ito, classroom, economies of scale. The more you make cars, the cheaper it becomes. The more you have profit, the more people you can hire. So may upward trajectory yan. And you can provide job to many Filipinos even though hindi ka engineer or something like that. You get what I'm saying? Masyado tayo umasa sa call center, sa real estate, sa malls, ganun. Dapat hindi ganun ang growth natin. Dapat manufacturing and agriculture driven. So my best wishes for the incoming administration's economic team. I hope you do the right thing and you have my full support, sir, ma'am, whoever is in charge when it comes to pushing for Philippines manufacturing industry revival, Philippines agricultural sectors development. Yun, para hindi lang tayo sa mga purong services sector lang tayo, purong services sector. That's not gonna get us anywhere over the long run in terms of reaching first world level. Kailangan natin mag-first world, guys. Tama na yan. Nakakapagod ng third world style na yan. Level up, guys. Level up. Alright? Thank you very much sa mga nagbigay ng star and support. I know the discussion today was very serious. Parang Meta 3 na tayo today. Hindi lang Meta 2. Meta 3 talagang technical classroom discussion. No? Of course, in a simplified way. I'm not gonna pretend that was like super high-level economic discussion. But, so I like what we're discussing here. And don't worry, guys. Ipopost ko sa some of the data that I've used and cited and yung article ko dito para makita niyo yung ginagawa natin. Yes, manufacturing, agriculture sector. We need to build that if we want to create jobs for the Filipino people. And sana comes the day when we have our own brands of cars, electronics, etc. Because kaya natin yan eh. Hindi naman ganun kakomplikado yan eh. Lalo ngayon in this age, you can get designs, technology, etc. You can get smart people to bring in. Kaya yan. Ang dami natin mga billionaires na dollar billionaires eh. So we have to push them in the right direction. Alright? Thank you very much, guys. Ayan, thank you again sa mga nagbigay ng star, nagbigay ng suporta. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you kay Let, kay Mish. Ayan, si Mish, supporter natin yan. Ayan, si Mish, ano yan? Fiscal incentives. Tama yan. We need fiscal incentives, true. And also, we have to make sure we have the human capital to support these infrastructure sectors. R&D, research and development, very, very important. Galing sa UP lahat yung mga kinukuha ni Marcos. R&D, dapat alam nila yan, research and development. Yeah, tama yan, Che. I look forward to may pera lang sana tayo at may magandang Tesla dito. Yan ang bibili natin. Yan talagang, this is the future, guys. Ayan, thank you dun sa mga nagbigyan ng suporta, sa stars. Ayan. Uy, paano medyo konti ng mga trolls natin ngayon. Ganun pala, guys. Pag seryoso na tayo, nagzone out na sila. Ayan. Thank you kay Fenny. Sa mga comments and support nyo. Ayan. Itong Meta 3 tayo today. Completely objective, serious stuff. Thank you kay Rowena for your star and support. Thank you kay Patrice. Thank you, sir, for your support. Ayan, nag-level up talaga tayo. And I hope we'll have more of this. Of course, not every day. Magkakantsawan din tayo once in a while para naman masaya. Kahapon kasi medyo may kantsaw tayo ng konti. Na-misunderstand na naman tayo ng tao. Huwag naman ganun, guys. Right? We're still serious. Thank you kay Michael Uy. Ayan. Thank you. Ayan, wala nang questions? Shall we go back to our lives? Tsaka trabaho natin. Yeah, so, grabe, daming notes bigla. Dati, ganyan lang kasimple yung mga pages ko. Ngayon, ang komplikado na. Naging ganyan na ngayon. So, magiging nanganganak ng mga subtopics. Yes, we need R&D, research and development. Yun ang dapat focus natin. So, tignan din natin sino mga next in charge dun sa mga DOST, yung mga ganun. Alright? Sana yung budget din. Thanks, Rowena, for your star, for your support. Thank you sa mga friends natin na have been joining us. Of course, my cousin, Marco. Muchas gracias. Todo for joining us from Espanya. Thank you to our friends na sumasali sa atin from Gitnang Silangan. Thank you to Steven for your support again. Alam ko, Steven, you're a big support of ours throughout the months. Thank you kay Jasper. Thank you to our friends from Canada, from US, Estados Unidos. Where are my Mexicano, mi gente, mi people? Where are my people, my hermanos? Where are there no one from Mexico watching me? I'm making us proud. I am making us proud, amigos. Okay? Alright, thank you. Thank you kay Jasper. Ayun na, lumalabas na naman si Fuego. Ayun na, let's get real. Let's get real. And thank you also, of course, friends natin from Saudi, from Qatar, Doha. Ayan, yung mga Qatar ha. Malapit na World Cup. Friendships. Ayan. PM nyo na lang ako yung details. Alright. Mahal ang hotel eh. Kasi mag-World Cup na. Friends natin from United Arab Emirates, from Dubai. Friends natin from Mindanao, from QC, from across the country, Quezon City, Makati, Rizal, Cagayan. Lahat niyan. Thank you so much. Yan. Oh, talaga, guys, now you see, who knows, right? Maybe we need an academy because marami na tayong pinag-usapan, hindi lang politika. Today, talagang almost 90% economics lang pinag-usapan natin. Sobrang konti lang yung politika. Which is good. Actually, honestly, ever since talaga, ayoko talagang politika. Pero nung tumakbo na si Digong, sabi ko, sige, patulang ko na to. Mag-political analyst na ako. Parang ganun eh. Kasi dati foreign policy lang ako and all eh. Tapos nung tumakbo na si Digong, sige, patulang ko na to. Yeah, we are here where we are. But now, hopefully, we can transition back into more serious discussion and all of that. Alright? So thank you very much. Thank you kay Nympha for your support and stars. Very kind of you. Yes, thank you kay Ponchano. Yes, very kind of you for, I know 8 p.m. na, so siguro yung iba sa inyo, pagod na, or gabi na, or etc. So I really appreciate it. Oh, Adamat nga kapsat from Baguio. Yan. Alam niyo na yan. Alam niyo na ibig sabihin yan. Bahala na kayo dyan. Mga friends natin dyan. From BGC, Steven, BGC represent. Yo, Zadi represent. Sino presidente? Yan. Akala nyo lang, Kaya ko rin yung mga moves na yan. Akala nyo yan, Cousins, alam niyo yan. Mga moves ko dyan. Sino presidente? Yeah, okay. Tama na yan. Okay. Thank you kay Corinne. Walang yan. Nung nagsayaw ako, dumami yung stars natin. Ayoko sa inyo. Ayoko talaga. Alam mo, masama kayong tao. Nung mga GMRC moves lang ako, doon na kayo nagbibigay ng stars. Kaya na parang, tama kong sinasabing thank you, wala pa rin lumalabas. Parang, ano kayong gagawin natin dito? Ayan. The moves tayo, GMRs. Ayan. Thank you kay Jamie, kay Annalyn, kay Maria. Ayan. I think this is the response. I don't think it's the lecture. I think it's the moves. It's the moves. Yeah. Mga ganon, yung mga moves. Alam mo yung mga wave na ganon? Yeah. Yung mga ganon. Yung mga sharp moves to the side. Expansionary fiscal policy. Keynesianism. Yeah. Technocratic. Marcos. Yeah. Team of rivals. Yeah. Sino president? Wala na. Sumobra na. Thank you kay Ninang. O yan na. Nag-walkout na yung iba. Tama na yan. Guys, come on. Saan kayo nakakahanap ng ganitong vlogger? Bibigay sa inyo ng lecture ng 40 minutes on budget deficit, debt to GDP ratio, and then biglang sa dulo, GMRC, sino presidente? Woo! Yeah! Woo! Yeah!